Hello, Fearless Gamers, and welcome to another podcast here on Fearless Games. I'm Matt the Vet, and today I'm joined by...
James the Wildcard.
And that's it. Apparently we scared off the other two on the last podcast.
Yeah, obviously, you know.
Yeah, we're just too awesome for them. So, now, Mr. James...
Yes.
You tend to always have questions to ask when we do these little podcasts. Well, now I actually have a question for you.
All right. Well, you know that you have a question for later on as well.
Yes. But before that, because I feel that subscribers come first, we've got two questions from our last podcast by... I'm not going to try and pronounce this person's name, but I will spell it. It is Suraii. I would guess like Surai, something like that.
I guess.
But I apologize if I mispronounce that at all, because I'm horrible with that kind of stuff. But these got two questions. Now the first question is do you think authors should be given unlimited freedom with sizes of ships as with all Warhammer 40k books, or should Games Workshop have decided on a canon size variation? FYI, the difference is several hundred meters up to 100 kilometers long, still the same ship class. So yes, what he's basically, for just to set up this guy, he's basically pointing out that novel to novel and fluff to fluff, the size of the BFG ships constantly are changing. 1 minute they'll be, like as big as a standard battleship is today. Next thing you know, they're 3 miles long.
Yeah, well...
And so, what do you think Games Workshop should establish a set standard, this is how big the ships are?
A standard size would just help in general, but I think with certain ships, I think it depends on, I don't want to say popularity of the ship, but of the race. For example, Space Marines have a pretty, their strike cruisers and their battle barges have a pretty consistent size to them. The issue is, with a lot of 40k stuff, there's a lot of one-offs. So there's the super battle barge that the Ultramarines have. There's another one which is considered a battle barge. And the thing is, I think with 40k, with BFG, their designations are less size designations and more so of a role designation. So the battle barge is a particular role in a thing to carry roughly 3 companies or more. But Space Marines, heavily armored to get in there with the big force of Space Marines. Strike cruisers, their role is basically a company to get in there. They are much quicker than a battle barge. So I think the way 40k BFG works is roles as opposed to sizes, which is kind of how we saw it back in World War II also with our battleships and destroyers and whatnot. It's more of a role, and I think that's why we don't have a size. It's less like, for example, I can't remember some of the names, but you got the Constellation class of Star Trek, for example, and you have the
Galactic class.
Galactic class, like the the Akali or the Carry class or something like that. And those are specific, not just sizes, but shapes. So, like, it's the Constitution or whatever, Constellation, whatever, it always looks like this. The galaxy always looks like this. And therefore, it's that size where 40k, it's like, the Emperor-class battleship is determined to have this type of functionality. Go with it as you will. Basically.
Elena here says that she thinks they should establish a set size. Me personally, I think they should at least establish a average size. Like, okay, this, like, for example, like, you've got your, like, a good example is, like, cars. I've got a 4-door, car, but it's smaller than your average 4-door car. So, I think they should go, okay, the average ship is, say, 100 meters. So then you could still have a Gothic-class ship that's 200 meters, but they can establish then that it's bigger than your standard Gothic class vessel.
Yeah.
Or say a cruiser, so like a regular cruiser is 100 meters. Well, the Gothic is, slightly bigger, but the Armageddon is the standard size. I think if they could establish what they would consider it has to be this big to count as this class, would probably be, it would make things a little bit more reasonable, I think. Like, they technically do it with the Space Marines already. They say it's not a particular ship, it's just a class of ship. So, it's okay, so they can be bigger, they can be smaller, it's just that they have this, like you said, this functionality, this set of weapon output on it that establishes what it is. But I think GW should kind of establish some sort of classification that gives writers a ground basis to work off of, but not restrict them down. So like a sort of unlimited freedom with guidelines, in a sense.
Yeah,
what I think.
I think, to an extent, most of GW ship classifications for their fluff or ships have a pretty good standardized size. Necron ships, pretty much nothing deviates. Tau, nothing deviates. It's really the Imperium which starts to deviate. And the problem with that is, I think part of it is everything's written through Imperial-centric eyes, basically. There's very few things that aren't. The Eldar Path books aren't, and that Tau Shadows on book isn't. But really everything else is pretty much Imperial-centric.
Yep.
With few variations. So we have the standard, Oberon class and Emperor class, and we have the, I forget the name of the light cruisers and the cruisers, and we have Space Marine class, even the old Chaos vessels that they use, and the mechanical vessels.
They're still technically Imperial.
Yeah. It's not used anymore by, the Ravager and whatnot.
Yep.
But the thing is, I think, by and large, we have standardized. If you look at some of the 40K fluff, the issue is, every time we have a real thing about a ship in the authors, it's usually either an ancient, unique vessel of a similar class, or such like the equivalent of a special character in 40K Tabletop. It's always a unique sunflower of vessels. There's always like, this is the special ship that should not exist, but we found it, type of thing. Or it's this thing is purpose-built for one particular mission. Like in the one of the I forget the name of the mechanical book, but it was of an explorator team that
the Machine Priest of Mars.
Yeah, the one I did the review on. I think it was
the Priest of Mars. I think that was called.
Their main setting is on this huge Mechanicus arc, basically, but it's not even. Mechanicus arcs is a whole other thing of how big they actually are. But this ship is gigantic in terms of description. It's basically OMG big. That's how big this thing is. But it's a one-off. It's a unique thing that they've partially found and rebuilt and repaired and added on to. And that's another issue. It's like, this thing is gigantic. I think it says it dwarfs like Emperor class battleships as if they were nothing. But again, that's a unique thing. So I think it's part of the problem with 40K in terms of writing. It's not necessarily the author's fault. It's part of the grand scale. Everything's got to be super unique when it's like a main thing. But then when you see ships getting blown up in naval battle, it's like, oh, that was an Emperor class battleship, or that was a Grand Cruiser or a carrier. It went down, and it's basically normal size. But not this main character ship. This main character ship is freaking huge.
Or like those weird ships like Sanguinius's, which is apparently in the shape of the Blood Angel's symbol.
Yeah,
which I still don't know how that works.
Right, and he had the phalanx of the Imperial Fist, which is huge, but we don't have the description for that. And then we have the Rock, which who knows the exact size of planet chunk that is.
Yeah, planet size. Who knows what that means?
Yeah, it's basically the biggest thing the Imperium's got. The phalanx is like the second biggest thing the Imperium's got. And it's hard to tell sizes once you get to planetoid size. It's hard to.
And then you get really weird with the craft worlds.
Yeah, and I think because it's so Imperial-centric, we have all these special ships, these one-off ships, these ancient ships that just appeared out of the warp. It's like, oh, hey, there's Charlie's ship, let's take it back. And I think if we have more like Tau-centric or Eldar-centric, you may have some of that going on, but I think those are less about the glorification of the ship and unique one-offs and more whatever works, that you would see less of it, but you may still see it.
Yeah.
It's kind of like with the Eldar fluff of, man, everything gets bigger and bigger and bigger when it comes to like these war machines that just come out of nowhere. But, you know, they've had, but this is the Imperium going, this is a one-off. It's ancient. We don't know how to build it. We kind of know how to repair it. Good luck.
And so, our second, so what about you, Fearless Gamers? What do you think? Do you think GW should step in and go, this is how big this ship is, this is how big this ship is, work with that? Or do you think they should just be given the unlimited freedom that they have been having in the past, like, years or so that Black Library's been out? I don't know how long Black Library's been around.
I don't remember either. And
I just know that they've been around for a while.
Yeah, they've been around for a good bit.
A while.
Yeah. And, you know, I think you have to do a little bit of sifting to get actual, like, dimensions that GW have established. I think
they did once, because I remember seeing a chart with BFG ships once, and I don't remember where it was. I think it was in the Armada book, where they actually had all of them standing next to each other.
Yeah, and the thing is also, being a specialist game and more of kind of like a setting or backdrop for what's going on in stories, you know, because there's very few naval-centric stories in 40K as far as novels go. And those still, it's more of a setting and a backdrop for the actual kind of conflict.
Speaking of, here it is.
So
I actually found the thing. Apparently there was at one point an official size rating for these things, and it's actually very, very small.
And so it's like with novels and popularity, like if BFG was more of a mainstream game, or Vessels really had more of a mainstream approach to it, I think it would have more of a unified dimension. Like, for example, Land Raiders never get huge in writing. You know, they stay a certain size. Terminators stay a certain size. If BFG stuff enables, I don't want to say more important, but more prevalent and more part of like the main game, we'd probably see more bricks staying their size. Now,
like, just this is weird. Like, again, like, I just found this picture, which I'm pretty sure is just I had it on. Let's see. Oh no, this is something somebody made, so never mind. But I do recall seeing a picture something like this where they had like the sizes of these things.
Yeah,
but this one looks like it's a fan-made version of it, where they had the biggest ship, a Retribution class, being 5 kilometers long.
From what I remember of something I saw that I think was official on one of GW's old sites, that just BFG ships are big. It's just massive.
So now another question. Oh look, one of my videos popped up. Another question that by the same gentleman, or lady, don't know which.
We don't know.
Is about proper model appearance. Most of the time, if the model is painted in a very good job, still better than turning up with a gray unpainted army. Yeah. But if someone makes, for example, Iron Warriors and paint them more like Death Guard and not having any marks for either, I personally don't accept them as Iron Warriors, because this time he might call them Iron Warriors, and the next game they might suddenly be Death Guard or any other Nurgle-based traitors. How would you guys react in that situation?
Yeah, that's a good question, and it's something I kind of touched upon in the previous podcast, where I said, you know, if you're going to play Dark Angels, you can't paint them pink. You got to paint them with Dark Angel colors, or one of the successors you're playing as successors. And I agree with that statement. You know, I don't think you necessarily have to have markings, because some transfers for things don't exist. For example,
and not for anything, the transfer sheets we got today are horrible compared to the ones that they were back in the day.
Yeah, I mean, I haven't had a problem with my transfer sheets, and people don't either can't find a transfer that works for it because it's not the symbol, like the Raven Guard, tend to not get a free handing. They don't want to ruin what they, or, you know, quote unquote, ruin something.
Yeah.
But have to do by butchering a symbol, which I completely understand. So if you can't find a symbol, but you paint them in the colors, like examples like Death Guard, they have symbols. Let's just say you didn't have transfer sheets for them. but you paint with a Death Guard saying their Death Guard, that's fine. Cool. Fantastic. But, I kind of agree that if you're going to play a particular established army, you need to follow their color scheme. I mean, that's why DIY is so great. You can do whatever you want with them. But, Iron Warriors, that's heavy metal, the Iron Warrior color, bolt gun or whatever, just some type of metallic with black shoulder pads, insets, and chevrons everywhere. That's the way they are. So, personally, me, I'm not going to call them out and go, that's not Iron Warriors. But, I'm not, it's their army. But clearly, if there's somebody came to me with, let's say, for children paint job without symbols and tried to tell me that they're world leaders, I'm going to be like, sorry, but you painted the wrong color for that. It's just if you're going to go with a particular established theme, you have to follow that theme.
I'd say I do very much agree. If you come out and you're like, okay, it's this army, then yeah, if you're using like the Space Wolves Codex or the Blood Angels Codex, they gotta be gray, they gotta be red, they gotta follow the chapter color schemes that they've established. If it's something like, I don't mind a counts as situation.
Yeah.
Because then it's like, for a good example is just like using my craft world, for example. I made up my own craft world where, it's called Soseo, which means if the translator that I found online was correct, it means one god. And now say if I decided originally when I first established them, I said, okay, they count as Uthwe. So I was going to use any Uthwe special rules if there were any at the time. That I don't mind, because you're saying, okay, it's this craft world painted this colors, but in game rules they count as this.
Exactly.
But if you're saying they're going, okay, I'm playing Blood Angels and they're all painted Ultramarines, then they're Ultramarines.
Yeah.
They're not Blood Angels.
Exactly, and I agree with that. Counts as is, I don't want to say a shadowy line or anything like that. It's kind of fuzzy and gray. But, if you want, for example, I saw somebody, they made up their own color scheme for an army. It looked really cool, kind of like your craft world. It was a Space Marine army. They wanted to run it like Blood Angels. They wanted to represent hyper-aggression. So they had counts as Blood Angels, which is totally cool,
Oh, yeah.
Like, that's cool. I have no problem with that. Counts as is completely different, but it's a little weird. Counts as can work just fine. I'm not going to go into my particular thoughts on the super specific that counts as, but that's totally okay. It's the difference of, like you said, those are Ultramarines, but you're saying that they're, Blood Angels.
Yeah,
you're saying
they're
Black
Blood Angels.
Legion or whatever.
Yeah.
It just doesn't work that way. That's what I mean by kind of WYSIWYG. Like, if you're going to play Black Legion, paint out with Black Legion. Now, the difference here being that's more like an established army setting, whether it's tournaments or just for fun as your established army. But if you were able to buy an army, like cheaply, and it's Ultramarines, but you wanted to try out because you're getting into it, you wanted to try out like Blood Angel rules, then yeah, you're experimenting.
Oh,
you're basically processing.
That's fine.
That's totally okay. If you're getting into it and somebody basically gave you an army that's semi-painted out as a particular army, and you want to try out different factions that you can paint them up as, the Space Marine stuff, go for it. But if it's your established army and it's Ultramarines colored, then they're Ultramarine. Well, not Ultramarine colored, but Ultramarine to the core. They're Ultramarines, but not anything else.
Yeah, but like to directly answer this question, like I said, I would probably be the same. I would not personally count. I wouldn't say anything, but me, I was like, okay, you're just using them Iron Warriors for today. Like he said, like tomorrow it could be Death Guard because of convenience.
But I'm not gonna bash the person and be like, you are doing it wrong at all. Like, it's their thing. But to me, if somebody else wants to play it, I'd say I play it against chaos. I wouldn't say what it is, because it wouldn't be.
Yeah. So now I've got a question for you.
Oh man.
And for the other fearless out there that are listening.
Mm-hmm.
Now, there's a lot of stuff going about, like, lately I've seen a lot of people bashing GW, big shocker.
Yeah, right.
But one thing I've always noticed is that a lot of people, some of people's complaints aside from the cost, is the balance of the game. and saying that, War Machine or Infinity's better because the games are more balanced. So I want to know, what do you think is, for you, what is more important in your hobby game? Is the game balance the big thing that's important to you in a game, or is it the game itself?
See, that's tough to answer without sounding cop-out, considering that they're kind of one and the same for me. But, for example, I think, by and large, it's a dual-pronged assault, basically. You have to enjoy the game. Like, I'm not going to get into a game if there's a bunch of unicorns running around galloping, planting flowers. And that's the objective. If we plant the most flowers, I'm not going to get into that. I'm not going to play it even if it's super balanced.
Now we're going to have to make that game.
Yes, exactly.
We're going to make a game, Unicorn the Flower Planting.
Yes. But
no one else could do that. We're copywriting that right now.
Yes. Heard it here first. But balance is important. And for the record, I don't feel there's an unbalanced issue in 40K at all. I don't. I've seen old codices rip apart the new ones and vice versa. I don't think there's a balanced issue. There's other things that I think people perceive as balanced issues, but that's not this question. And I think also balance depends. Are you new to the game hobby, or are you coming from another game? Like, for example, if you're used to War Machine or Ends of War or Infinity or whatever it is, and then you go into 40K, which has different rules and ways of doing things, certain things may feel a bit unbalanced to you because you're used to a different way of doing things. But balance is important, which is why, like, I feel there's no game that's unbalanced, personally. There are hot-ticket items, and to put it into example, Magic the Gathering is a card game, but it's balanced. Problem is, there's a metagame. Not the problem, there's a metagame, and there's just hot-ticket items, hot-ticket decks out there. They'll just wipe the floor unless you're playing against the exact counter. Or, you have a much harder uphill battle if you're playing against somebody who knows how to play one of the top 8 decks. Doesn't mean the game's unbalanced, it means that's a very well thought out deck. Same thing with certain army lists. And certain armies are inherently weak to others in any game. So it's not a balancing issue, I would say, because if it were, it would just be, whatever the hot ticket item is that week would be what is played. And I don't really see that happening in 40K. Usually a codice comes out, people go, oh my god, you see a big rise in list concepts and playing, then it settles back out again. So the balance is important. You have to like the game, and then once you like the game, you hopefully have something that's balanced. So I would say balance is a high priority, because if the game isn't balanced, nobody's going to really want to play it, because you play the strong thing or you lose. So.
In my opinion, I feel, for me, it's the game and the fluff and the story and the characters behind it, for me, more importantly than the balance. Because on par, I would say that if I were to ask the question, which one do you think is more balanced, I believe the statement, if you want a game that's balanced, you play War Machine. If you want to play a game that's fun and fluffy, you play 40K. And I agree with that statement. I do think that, on a whole, 40K is not as balanced as War Machine. But on the same front, even despite that, I still think that I enjoy both games equally because of the environment and the stories. Like, the game system doesn't matter to me. Like, even back when, even though I do complain a lot about the Eldar, and their power setting in the game, it hasn't deterred me from playing it because I still love the environment and the story behind the characters themselves. And on the front with balancing, I do agree that sometimes balance can be masked if someone has sat there and built an army to be perfectly in balance, and if you haven't done the same, then you're going to see a dramatic change in power between the two army lists. Right. A good example is in a game that I recently was in. We were playing a game, and usually my fire dragons, they're horrible, and my tanks are usually garbage in this game. So I was always like, my tanks are completely useless because they pop like nobody's business every 2 seconds. And in the game that we were just in, my tanks actually were pretty much my saving grace throughout the game. I still lost, but the tanks actually took like 3 or 4 turns before they dropped. So I think it's more of a mechanism of how you play the models and how well you establish and set up your army that makes it seem more unbalanced than it really is. But I would say between balancing and, like I said, between balance and rules and story arc, I personally, rules and story and fluff would win me over more than the balance of a game. Because, like, say everyone goes, oh, Flames of War is so balanced, it's so perfect, blah, blah, blah. It's like, yeah, but it's World War II. If I wanted to do anything with World War II, I'd play one of the Medal of Honor games.
Right. No, I agree with that. Like, the thing that's going to suck you into any game when you first get into it is the story of the game, the fluff, even the appearance. Like, wow, that looks cool. Wow, I like the way that army's set up. I like that.
The only reason I got into War Machine originally was because of how Asphyxious looked.
Right, and like certain things are going to get you into the game, and you know, and I feel also that if you, for example, using Eldar, if you felt the game was horribly unbalanced with the Eldar, you probably wouldn't be as gung as opposed to how they are now. You know what I mean? Like if you felt like there's no reason to play Worthless Army, which there isn't any else in any game, then what I think is a testament. The games that we talk, not just we, but people talk about and that are still alive, are alive for a reason.
Yep.
And another example, like is said, you know, if you build a list super power games basically to win in tournaments, and you play against casual lists just for fun and playing, you're gonna have a supposed quote-unquote advantage in just winning because you're built to win instead of built just to play.
Yeah.
And the same concepts in Magic the Gathering. Now, I can tell you for a fact, when I used to play competitively there, I always played my own list that I tried to make competitive. I did decent, but I seen a metagame, and there were certain decks out there that while I didn't understand them, I saw how they worked, but if you put them in my hands, I would play them horribly. And that's the thing, you know, it's not just, the list isn't going to necessarily win you the game, you have to know how to play it. So if somebody gave me, here's like the top, I don't know, top Dark Eldar, top Imperial Guard list out there, right? That's decimating, let's say. It's a beast. I don't know how to play
good example is the Leaf Blower list.
Yeah. Like, I don't know how to play those. I play Space Marines. I play armies that actually make armor saves. I don't know how it works to not make armor saves. Well, I do, because I never make them. But I don't know what it's like to not even be able to roll that. I don't know. I never played a super fragile or super speedy or super whatever list that wasn't Space Marine themed. So I'm going to be at an inherent disadvantage with a list I've never played.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I think it comes down to that as well. But I will say, in order to get you into a game or anybody into a game, I do agree with you. It's the story, it's the fluff, that's what draws you in. You're not getting drawn in by, oh man, look at all these statistical rules and things that are so balanced. That's not fun. In fact, that's boring to look at before you're not getting into the game. You're looking at the stuff that's cool, the story, the look, the feel of cotton, the fabric of our life.
So, now I ask you, fearless gamers, what do you think is more important with a game when getting into or sticking with the game? Is it the game balance, or is it the game's story, fluff, and background that keeps you interested? Leave us a comment. We'd like to know.
Yeah, it's always...
Yep, sorry.
Nothing's always good.
And have you read the latest White Dwarf?
Not yet.
Oh my, the prettiness that is the Eldar stuff coming out. I am super excited.
It's cool, but I'm also a little disappointed.
Why are you disappointed?
Oh, first off, cool Ranger special character concept. That's really cool.
What's cool, sorry?
The Ranger special character guy that's up Preo-rder.
Oh, the 120-inch range sniper rifle?
Yeah, the sniper rifle of death. It's just very cool because it makes sense to have a cool... it's kind of referencing the Dawn of War, I like the special character Ranger as well.
Yeah.
Which is cool. So that's number one. I like the Spirit Seer, whatever it is, the way they look.
He's probably, out of all the new models, he's probably the one I was like, with. I think it's his posing that I'm just like, about. His outfit is cool.
Yeah, I like his outfit. The hand that's up there, looking like he's doing the rock symbol, is a little weird.
Yeah, with the spirit stone.
Yeah, like I like the overall outfit.
Yeah, I like the outfit. I think it's the way he's holding the staff. He's like, forward! He's like trying to part the sea.
I do. It is, but I also find it kind of funny. It's kind of like, you blind dead things this way.
Go that way. Kill something. I have no eyelids. I can't see.
Exactly.
Because he has no eye hole to that helmet.
But you must see it via psychicness. But
or he's got like a Cobra Commander thing going.
Yeah, which I always like that style of look. I think it's very cool.
It is.
It's very, like, unsettling. If you if somebody were to try and face me off, kind of kill me looking like that, it's very unsettling.
Yeah.
No face. The thing that I'm disappointed about, well, first off, I want to say, bravo with finally platinum the Wraith card. I'm not sure how I feel about the other variant, the Wraith Blade or whatever it is.
The Wraith Blade.
Based on what I know about Wraith Guard, it just seems like it would be a pretty tough unit to hurt, but just so slow and semi-cumbersome that I don't know how effective they would be unless there's different rules for them. A lot, like, it looks kind of cool. I just don't know how. I would have to see the rules for them.
Looking at these, they do have, let's see, Wraith Blade. They have the exact same stats, according to this picture in the, because they sometimes do those, like, pictures of the rule book in there. They both have, weapon skill, ballistic skill 4. They have strength 5, toughness 6, 1 wound, 1 attack each, initiative 4, leadership 10, and saving throw of 3.
Yeah.
The Wraith Guard are armed with the Wraith Cannon, and the Wraith Blades have the 2 Ghost Glaives, which they can trade off for a Power Axe and a Shimmer Shield.
Right, which, it's cool, it looks cool. I just always felt with the whole Wraith thing, I mean, a squad of those could very be great to tie things up. I mean, they're hard to kill as it is, Wraith Guard. So now you have hard to kill on close combat, even better. But I do feel things like, you know, stuff you want to throw up against, you necessarily wouldn't, like Terminators, because there's some one-side all along. But I just feel the Wraith Guard are so good as a shooting unit, because it's a shooting unit that you really have a hard time killing.
Yeah.
And the Wraith
Lord
got
a new
is what I
weapon
would
now,
throw
too.
Yeah. The Wraith Lord is what I would throw into close combat, because he had, like, you know, he's a bit better at it. He's still good for a shooting platform, but rather tie something up with a big creature than tie up a whole squad. But I have to see that full.
Me personally, at first I was like, oh no, this is Phil Kelly. This is just the Mutilators all over again. It's taking a unit that was shooty and for no reason whatsoever throwing close combat weapons on it. Why? And then I sat back and thought about it. I think the main primary reason, because in the White Dwarf they have a picture of them and they're all painted up in Iaden colors.
Yeah.
And I'm like, you know what? It kind of makes more sense now, because in that situation they were essentially 90% Wraith Lord's Wraith Guard, so they would probably, I could see Iaden doing something more like, we have enough shooters, we need more people to go on the front line and slice these things up. Hey, let's chuck the Wraith Guards in there, let's give them some swords so they can do something about it.
Oh, I agree, and the whole concept is, you know, well, why would a Wraith Guard be shooting if it was a Howling Banshee or a Striking Scorpion that got interred or something like that? But
yeah,
I understand it, and they probably unfortunately, they probably take up the same force organization spot. Yep. Which is, I would prefer to see them in 2 separate spots anyway. You can have an Iaden army with both pretty strong.
Yeah, I think if the digital book that's coming out actually happens, I think that's where they're gonna be separated. Yeah. And they may still have the Spirit Seer rule where they become troop choices.
Which would be cool. And I wonder if that Iaden thing is gonna be like, I'm picturing that more of a supplement for like just a pocket or something where it's easy to have supplements, but we'll see.
Yeah, I hope that if anything, if they do it, one, I hope it's not the price that I've been hearing online that it is, because apparently it's the rumored price is $50.
Yeah, it's a little
and so if it ends up being $50, then I'm not buying it just on principle, because even Wizards of the Coast has the decency to give us $10 off our supplement books. But even still, if they're going to do Iaden, they better do one for the other craft worlds.
Yeah, we'll have to see what goes on with that. The thing with the Wraith Blade, whatever it is, I look at it as not counting HQ, the Autarchs and the Avatar. You have Howling Banshees, which have a specific role in close combat. You have Striking Scorpions, which have the exact opposite role in close combat. Then you have Shining Spears, have their own niche for charging in close combat. And you have the, what are they called? The
Harlequins?
You have Harlequins have a specific role in close combat. That's 4 things in the Codex already that basically encompass all ways of close combat. I feel that Wraith Knights, the Wraith Blades are kind of redundancy, just for, like, you have enough. Outside of Iaden, outside of the Iaden, I don't really see a reason to go, you know what, I'll trade my Striking Scorpions in for this, or I'll trade the Harlequins. I just think that they have enough that encompass really good roles in the army already. It'll be interesting to see. I mean, maybe the Wraith Blade are more of like your tanky, highest things up type of stuff, but they're probably going to be points heavy, because Wraith Guard are points heavy.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. One thing, though, I have been noticing is I do like that our fighter is an aspect warrior.
Yeah.
So it's like, wait a minute, you mean the Eldar have finally realized they can train people to fly vehicles?
Bravo.
And I do like that it's, the Crimson Hunter, which is pretty cool. I think it's interesting that their bomber is a Wraith Guard-like unit with a Spirit Seer piloting it.
Yeah.
The Wraith Knight is pretty awesome. I like the advertisement that's going right now with the, on the website it goes, and you thought the Riptide was big.
Yeah, it's also kind of cheap, because we get it. Everything else has got to be really tall and fragile.
Slender.
Size. But it is, I'm glad we got kind of a size comparison shot when they announced it, because it really is hard to tell its size.
Oh, yeah. And I'm glad that they actually wrote in the description it's 9 inches tall. Yeah. So it's literally, let's see, 9, 10, 11, 12. It's 3 inches shorter than a Reverend Titan.
Yeah, which is, that's pretty cool. But I feel that
that was uncalled for. Elena just said it's 3 inches shorter than my mom.
Well, at least it's not a model bigger than your parents,
Yeah, then that would be hard to carry around in the car.
It would be. The thing that I feel they kind of dropped the ball on, well, I don't want to say they have, because I don't know how Autarchs work in the new Codex. But where's our multi-part plastic kit for an Autarch, really? Yeah,
no, I do agree that, why don't we have a commander set for the Autarch?
Yeah, I mean, it could even be a plastic box the size of the Space Marine Commander box, or even bigger. Charge it, and maybe make it a bit more expensive than the Space Marine Commander, but make it a Farseer or an Autarch, depending upon what you want to do. That way you have them both in there, loads of options, ready to go.
Yep, and what would be great is then, because as the pictures in the Codex, as the picture Codex is established, they aren't giving any new models and such. If we had an Autarch box set with all the plastic stuff, you could finally make that Warp Spider X-Arch with the sniper rifle thing.
Yeah, it's just like, I was just looking at it going, seriously, GW? I mean, your stuff looks cool. I get what you're doing, but there's unless the Autarchs were completely different than how they are now, which I doubt.
Or they might have, well, no, they're still in the Codex, because there was one they're throwing them, they throw pictures of them everywhere with the new stuff.
So just kind of like, where's the plastic kit for that? And I don't know esoteric-wise what's going on, aside from what we know already as existing and what we see in pre-orders. But, I want to see more Phoenix Lords, and do you think there's now fighter aspect warriors type stuff? Do you think there's a Phoenix Lord to go along with that? Because that'd be pretty cool.
I don't know. It would be interesting if they do. I did hear rumor. I don't know how true it is, but I heard rumor. You remember Narud the Fireheart, the dude on the Viper?
Yeah.
It's rumored that he's now been turned into the Phoenix Lord of the Shining Spears.
Which is cool, but
but it would be interesting to see if they do have a Phoenix Lord.
Yeah,
or they may just go that they share Phoenix Lord with Bahamut or Baharath or whatever his name is. I can't quite forget. Yeah, the swooping hawks dude.
Yeah. I mean, it would just be cool fluff-wise, because then it'll make a cool,
conversion.
It'll make a cool conversion and cool, upon this beta sheet for the Phoenix Lord of the Fighter.
If that could be the Eldar's new Apocalypse model, is the Crimson Hunter's Phoenix Lord.
That would be cool. I just want the Fighter Phoenix Lord back.
Yeah, it would just be like a giant fighter jet. It would be awesome.
Yeah.
Apparently, when I was reading through the battle report, because it was Necrons versus Eldar.
Of course.
And they actually threw in the Zone Mortalis new Necron tomb thing as one of the mission parts of it.
Cool.
The Wave Serpent can now shoot its energy shield.
Weird, but okay.
Well, apparently it was an old ability that they had in Epic.
Yeah.
Where they compressed the energy shield and fired it out in a concentrated beam. Again, this part is the rumor part. I don't know how true this is, but there's rumor that the turn that the Wave Serpent fires the energy beam, if it had troops that disembarked that turn, the troops can then treat the Wave Serpent as if it was an assault vehicle.
It will make an interesting combo setup.
Because it's supposed to represent everyone going, dude, that tank just shot something at us. What's going on?
Yeah, it just shot its shield at us. What?
And
I just hope it's not like the cellophane S. That was a minor inconvenience. I hope it actually.
Yeah, totally showed you. That part's always so weird. I think in the director's cut they got rid of the cellophane S.
Good.
Wait, you saw? Did they get rid of the cellophane S in Superman 2? In Superman 2, Superman takes his S and he throws it at the big dude and he falls. And I heard in one of the cuts that they got rid of that.
Which is best for everybody.
Yes. Yeah. So there's this apparently in the director's version of it they got rid of the cellophane S. The Richard Donner cut, if they got rid of the cellophane S. That was still so weird. I don't get how that worked. And the S was still on his chest afterward.
Yeah, that was weird.
It's almost as bad as the last two in that series.
Yeah.
But there's some pretty cool stuff going on. I do like the Aspect Warrior color for the Crimson Hunter. The only thing I do not like is the tutorial on how to do it. Because if you look, it goes, okay, this is how you do the cream. It goes, okay, you do the crimson topside. You paint it corn red. Then you do an edge layering of Wazdaka red. Then you do fine edging with pink horror, and then you give it a wash of Korriban crimson. Okay, fairly simple, easy to understand. Well, for the cream hole, it goes first, base coated in Screaming Skull, and then it says layer in Ushanti Bone, but it says detail brush. But he clearly painted the whole hull with Ushanti Bone. I'm like, so you want me to use a detail brush to repaint the entire thing? What?
Yeah, that is a little odd.
And I was like, ah. And then it goes layer white skull, fine edging, okay. But then it says wash Sepirum Sepra, wash brush, but it's only in the crevices. And I was like, and around these little things, it's like, you didn't paint over the whole thing. How did you do? I'm getting more and more upset with a lot of the paint tutorials that White Dwarf shoves out because they seem very like they're skipping 6 steps when explaining how they did it.
They do, and it's just, not written out as much as they used to be, but they are. It's great to have.
It's great to have, And I love how they don't tell you the mixture ratio anymore.
Yeah,
Because, like, this one guy does, this is how I do Wraithbone. The second step is, Morgan Fang Brown and Ushanti Bone. So I was like, what's the mixture? Is it 1 for 1? Is it 2 for 1? 3 for 1? Give me something here, sir.
The only thing I can imagine is they're just going to 1-for-1 mixtures. That's the only thing that makes sense to even assume, because everything else doesn't make any sense.
So White Dwarf guys, if you're listening, if you're doing a paint tutorial, awesome. If it involves mixtures, tell us the mixture ratio so we can replicate it.
Exactly. Speaking of that, Forge World in their download has a paint thing for painting the first 4 legions of the Horus Heresy in that book. So that was it, Death Guard, Emperor's Children, World Eaters, and Sons of Horus. So they have their own little PDF you can download for free on how to do them all. And the one that's the most complicated is Sons of Horus, because they mix 4 different greens basically to get that green.
Yeah.
But they go over everything. And
it's got to be better than the one that they did in the White Dwarf, which was just paint him silver, then dry him green. I was like, but then he just looks metallic green and looks nothing like all the fluff.
Yeah, the one that Forge puts out looks very much like it's supposed to, which is good. But so if you're a big fan of the Horus Heresy time period and you're playing one of those 4, or you want to, and you want to kind of make it as quote unquote accurate as you can, the Forge one's pretty good way to go about it.
Then where is that?
It's in their down. You have to click wherever you can click for experimental downloads.
Yeah.
Let's find it. They always hide that link somewhere on the main page.
Well, the main page has just the downloads, and then it goes, you want to find working with resin, go here.
Yeah, but it's part of it. It's, let me try and find it real quick, but, it does well. The only thing I don't like is they put a lot, not that I don't like it, they do a lot
Legion
of
Painting Guide, here we go.
Yeah.
Let's see how this looks. Yep, I'm checking it out to see how this thing looks.
The Emperor's Children one looks fine. They put white on details of the Emperor's Children for certain areas, which is something that I think is kind of new. It only came out with the Horus Heresy book, which is fine. And that's one thing I don't like is the whiteness on some of the Emperor's Children models. Not that it looks bad, it's supposed to look dirtied up and damaged, but I just have an aversion to painting white. Unless it's World Eaters, and I don't mind because it's kind of accompanying gore anyway.
Oh, that Sons of Horus one is actually pretty interesting.
Yeah, they do a pretty good job. So if you want a good base reference, check out that PDF.
Yep. For everyone, just so you have a what you do is if you go to the main page, if you look, there's those Welcome to the Forge World website. There's a small paragraph, and then you can download updates and experimental rules for our models here. If you click that link, there's a title called Horus Heresy. It's the first link, Forge World Legion Painting Guide.
Yeah, and that leads me to believe as the other books come out, they're going to either make a second PDF or just update that PDF with more of the Legions in it.
Most likely. Yeah. Apparently, according to what I've heard, the next trilogy will finally get Magnus.
Well, yeah, well, at least rules for it. I won't get the model for a while. It took forever to
get at the rate that they're going... we'll never see those models.
Yes.
But one thing I want to bring up that I found interesting. Remember back in the day when one of us suggested, I think it was me, having GW kind of establish one author to write all the codexes?
Yeah.
It seems like GW is doing that, because with the Eldar Codex, Phil Kelly now has 3 codexes under his belt, being the one author that has the most 6th edition codexes written right now.
Yeah, I mean, we'll see how it goes, but... Again,
which I find... I think it's cool. I think it is a fairly good idea to have one dude write a majority of them, and get other people to write some of the other codexes. But I think that we're going to see more, like, I've noticed a lot of the people, I've yet to hear any balance issues complaining about it. The only thing I've heard is, the Necron fighters are broken. But I think we're going to see less and less complaining about rule sets, because we have more of one author writing it, so he can sit there and go, okay, I made this codex. How can I make where this codex isn't overpowered but not underpowered compared to that one type of thing?
You know, I mean, we'll see what their plan is. I think it might be just a matter of just coincidence. We'll see. But the Town Codex came out in April, right?
Yep.
And the Eldar are coming out in June.
And Dark Angels came out in January. And Demons came out in March?
Something, I forget when.
But they all came out this year.
Yeah, and that's the thing. This is what I said in one of the earlier podcasts. I feel they're a bit too rapid fire. We only had a month in between Tau and Eldar. Now, don't get me wrong. I'm glad that we're getting codices out and things updated. It just feels a bit like it's so rapid fire that I forgot the cast Demons came out because I forget they exist. But that's just another one to add to the list. And it seems a bit. I mean, we're not even going. We're barely done with the first quarter of 2013, and we had 4 codices.
Yep.
Like halfway through the year with 4. It used to be the entire year.
I think the goal for them in this one is, and in a way, I can see the dangers of doing this, but on the flip side, I'm thinking of it as like, okay, they are coming rapid out, but the big thing is now, if they keep going at this pace, then everyone's going to have at least a codex in the edition for at least a year before 7th edition comes out.
Yeah, I agree.
And that was always like an issue that I felt a lot of people had with the other versions. It's like, oh, I'm still using a 3rd gen codex and we're up to 5th gen, blah, blah, blah. Yay, I got a 5th gen. Oh, great, we just got 6th edition and now my codex is useless again, blah, 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 blah.
I agree. I see pros and negatives for both sides of the argument. And the fact that 6th edition is supposedly going to be an edition that sticks around a bit longer than 4th and 5th did.
Yeah. They're trying to do another 3rd edition with this one.
Yeah, if we get all the codices up to speed and everything on the same plane, that means Sisters of Battle will get an actual book eventually, quicker than people expect.
Yep.
And everybody will be on the same level for an edition that lasts a decent amount of time. Speaking of space, because sci-fi, I've been watching a lot of videos on YouTube of the ISS, the International Space Station.
Okay.
And it's really cool because they go over a lot of stuff that they do. What I like about it is they're really utilizing social media with the ISS. If you go to like certain YouTube pages of the different commands like NASA or the Canadian Space, whatever it is, agency, whatever, and the European one, they have a lot of stuff where like they answer questions from schools or their country or area, and they just do things and post videos just to show you what's going on in space, which is pretty cool. So, if anybody's interested in that, you just do a YouTube search of ISS, and you'll come up with a whole bunch of stuff. In fact, just recently, Chris Hadfield, who's from Canada, he was the previous space station commander, and 2 of his associates just, I think, mid-May, touched down on Earth from like a 6-month, 5-month, 6-month stint up in ISS. So, it's pretty cool. And then one thing that's funny is, okay, these are scientists, these are astronauts in space. They know what they're talking about and doing. And some of the comments, you have people going, well, technically it's not 0G, blah, blah, blah. I'm like, don't try and correct the astronaut. He knows what he's talking about. Really, don't
correct the astronaut. Yes. I would agree, do not correct the astronaut.
It's just like, I think he understands what he's saying. He's pretty qualified in this department. I just want to put it up there because I just got hooked on watching it. It's really cool. One of them is nearly an hour long. It's a full tour of the space station. It's pretty cool.
Now, speaking of mistakes and such, guess what's already out on the GW website?
What?
The Eldar errata.
But the codex is here.
It's literally it's 1 correction and then 6 blank pages.
Nice.
But it's Eldar errata June 13th. And I was like, wait a minute. So you're already aware that there's problems, and you're already setting us up for those problems to come out.
I really like that. Even if it's just 1 or 2 things that they want that editing, whatever, just putting those together kind of made weird. It shows that this is an improvement over how GW used to react to things.
That is true. I just find it hilarious. It's like,
It's
but
kinda
my
funny.
codex isn't even available yet. How can I have the errata?
That is funny.
Why do you think I need the errata right now?
Yeah. Oh, so I have a question for
Okay.
you and the this gamers out there. We talked a lot about movies and comic book movies and what like in the past and all that jazz and comic books. What is, we're going to stick with video games. The characters that have not started off as a comic book character, or you started off their life as video game characters. Who is your favorite hero and who is your favorite villain? Non-comic related, just start off as a character in a video game. They may have a comic book now, that's okay, but they started off as a video game. Either video or PC, the full electronic gaming thing.
That I honestly don't have an answer for. I'd have to think about that, which will take longer than what we have left on this podcast. So
Yeah.
I will answer that when everyone else, next time when we get answers from everybody else.
Yeah, so, I mean, fearless gamers, think about it. You have time to put it in the comment section. I am hesitant to answer right now, too, because it's something I thought of today, and I want to have time to think about it. But
now, just to establish, it's a character or villain that started in a video game.
Yes, they can have a whole comic book series or even a movie or whatever it is now, but they have to have started.
Yeah, their origin was video games.
Yeah, or at least to the best of your recollection. I'm not going to hold you accountable if, you thought.
Yeah, we're not going to look this up and go, oh, that doesn't count.
This guy had a comic book for 2 weeks before a video game. No, if it's something really like that, then it basically started as a video game character. Hero and/or villain. If you only think of one or the other, that's fine, but try and get both in there. It doesn't have to be, what is the hero, what is the villain. The guy who's trying to say that, the protagonist and the antagonist. Your favorite protagonist and your favorite antagonist. Some people don't view certain people as heroes, that's fine. Protagonist and antagonist.
Speaking of video games, you saw the Xbox One reveal?
No, I didn't. I don't pay attention.
Okay. Well, if you love fantasy football, then Xbox One is for you. Because all their features are about live TV and fantasy football leagues and such. But it was one of these things where they were clearly not trying to target the hardcore gamer in this review. They were trying to contact the sports watcher, the TV watcher, the person who's doing everything but playing video games.
Which is a good way to do it, because you got the video game play already. You got those.
But the thing is, I personally think, I have seen a lot of people going, well, they just kind of lost a lot of interest because now they're like, oh, great, they're only focusing on the casual gamer. But neither here nor there. I have two funny stories about the premiere of the Xbox One. First one is Sony, after the Xbox One came out, they made a new advertisement that goes, PlayStation 4. Our system uses the TV too to play video games. And the second one is you could watch this Xbox event via the dashboard on your Xbox. Well, if you had a Kinect, the Kinect was obeying the guy's commands on the TV.
Okay.
So he was going at one point he goes, Xbox, dashboard, and then everyone would exit out of the video and go straight to their dashboard because the Kinect registered the command as the person watching it. And so then they go, and they swap back, and then he'd go, Xbox, home page, and then it'd go back, or he'd say, Xbox, play movie, then the movie that was in their disk drive would start playing.
That's not good.
I was like, oh, that is hilarious.
Yeah.
And the only thing that's creeping me out about it is the fact is that the Kinect is always on. That kind of creeps me out.
It is a bit weird.
And there is talk that it doesn't need to be connected 24/7, but it has to connect to the internet every 24 hours once.
Or what? It explodes.
What? Oh, or it just doesn't operate.
So
if your internet, say if you connect today at 3:08 as we are right now, and then Monday comes along and your internet is down. If at after 3:08 a minute passes and the internet goes down. If the internet is not back on at 3:08 Monday, then the Xbox won't play until the connection comes back on.
That's weird. It's a bit odd considering
because the games have to phone home to prove that they're legit copies.
Yeah, I get that, and it's not just an Xbox thing. They always talk about that throughout every gaming thing out there.
Oh yeah,
and that's the one thing I dislike about consoles. Computer gaming is less of a thing that really do it. You know, it's more of it's stored on a cloud like Steam, but you can access them offline if you make it so you can access them offline. It's just I have a gaming console. Granted, I understand they're going entertainment oriented in total, counting gaming and everything else. But, sometimes I'm not, internet can go down, or, you know what, I just move somewhere, or something happens, I don't have internet, or I don't want it connected to internet because I don't want it.
You don't want to pay for it.
I just want to play the game I have, or watch the movies that I buy for it. I want to buy physical games and play it. And having the requirement, while it's a less of a thing of, less exclusive to the internet than it used to be years and years ago. So basically, it does. But I know people who just don't have internet in their particular area, or just to where the Xbox would be. They just use it to watch either a DVD player or a PS3, a Blu-ray player, whatever it is, and then they play some games on it.
Yep.
And to basically lock a system because you don't use it for the internet, I feel is a little lame, personally.
From what I've been told, it will still play movies. It'll do non-gaming things without connecting to the internet.
That's a bit better, but still,
but supposedly, if you want to play any game, it needs to have a connection once every 24 hours to the internet, which is silly, in my opinion.
Yeah, it is a bit weird, because, again...
I'm sorry for me, but who really watches live TV and then goes, you know what, I'm going to Google search right now, and then needs their Xbox to Google search while they're watching TV? Yeah, that's one of the, and Skype call. You can watch live TV. You can Skype call while watching live TV, and then you can Bing search while watching live TV. It's like, why would I be watching TV if I'm searching the internet or calling people online?
Well, I think it's cool. I can see the allure of it. I can see how people might use it. It's convenience, but I look at it this way. If I'm watching TV and if my computer's in the same room and I want to search something, my computer's on, I'm going to search on my computer while the TV so it's full screen display of what I'm watching. If I want to call somebody, same deal.
And plus you're not forced to use Bing.
Exactly. And above that, beyond that, smart TVs aside, what you can do with the TV, that's also a weird thing, which is kind of interesting, but whatever. People have smartphones or tablets with them all the time. You can just do a quick search on the tablet or a smartphone while watching TV.
Supposedly, if you have a Windows phone, when you're on the Bing search, you can use your Windows phone to control it.
Interesting, but I don't know anybody has a Windows phone.
Yeah.
I've never even seen one in real life.
Yeah, I've seen one. My aunt has one.
Okay. The only time I've seen it is when I've seen Windows phones when cell phones are in a cell phone store that has multiple things. It doesn't count, because that's not in its natural habitat of the real world.
Yeah, that's like saying I only see nails in a hardware store. Well, I'd hope you'd see nails in a hardware store, because it's a hardware store.
Yeah, exactly. It's weird. I feel I feel entertainment consoles, not just, video game consoles, whatever, there's smart TVs, which are kind of doing what video game consoles are doing now, but only without the gaming aspect.
Yeah.
Interesting, it's cool, it's sci-fi futuristic style, but I'm not going to pay for the added integration of features when I have a smartphone. The phones are really... I'm not a cell phone guru. I'm not obsessed with them, but phones are really where it's at when it comes to integration of things. They're basically tiny computers. They really have gone tiny computers like it was predicted to be. So in actuality, that and even tablets, which you can use as a cell phone, which is ridiculous. Some of them you can, which is just too funny. But that's really where integration should be. Having it as a convenience factor is cool elsewhere, but like I said, if I'm watching TV on my TV, I have my smartphone with me, or I'm buying a computer. So if I want to do stuff that And I guess it's probably because we're of that generation. Like, kids growing up now, maybe, when they get...
Yeah, would want everything all on one thing, doing it all at the exact same time.
Yeah, they'll be used to it. But I guess we're old school. We're thinking, well, you know what, I have a phone. I'll use that while watching TV. But I guess 20 years down the line, it'll be like, I can't be bothered to use 2 devices at once. It must be just one device.
I guess we're just not the target audience.
I guess. But, I mean, it hasn't seemed to be really convenient. It seems more of a hassle, especially on a TV.
Yeah. Because the TV can only show so much information at once.
And it's also like the way, you know, whether it registers motion, some smart TVs do, or whether you use a controller as like a Wiimote almost. But consoles, I can kind of see a console interacting with the TV that way. It's a bit easier. You're kind of used to doing that with your console already. But some of these TV stuff, even with the console, it's just a bit weird. I don't know, I'm not going to say it's a latency issue, but there's always it's not always 100% quick when you click it. And then you're just losing screen real estate. You need to make it project like a 3D HUD out, and you just click it.
So, I think that's all the time we have for right now.
Yeah.
Thank you all for listening. Happy Memorial Day.
Yes, to those of you that, you know.
Yes, for those of you who celebrate Memorial Day, hope you have wonderful barbecues and such. I will be working.
Yes,
so people can... I'll be working in the store so everyone else can get the barbecue stuff they need to have their barbecue.
Exactly, and, you know, for those of you that celebrate Happy Memorial Day, if you're not from the United States, whatever it is, you know, stuff like that, have a barbecue.
Happy Monday.
Yeah, have a barbecue. Why not? Barbecues are fun.
It's summery. It's time. And stay tuned. Saturday, I will be doing open boxes of a lot of the Eldar stuff, as long as GW doesn't shortchange the comic shop by me on the models.
Yeah.
And we will talk to you guys next time. So until then, this is Matt the Vet.
And this is James the Wildcard. And don't forget the questions we asked. You know?
Yep.
We want to hear you guys. Let us know any questions you have, anything at all, whether we talk about it or whether you just have a thought. Put it in the comment section. We appreciate that. It helps us talk about things and helps steamroll this whole avalanche of random talk.
Yes. So, until next time, fearless gamers, take care.
Peace out.